You know, when people talk blockchain, often the first thing that springs to mind is Bitcoin, right? That whole price roller coaster.
Yeah, absolutely. It grabs the headlines.
But it's easy to miss what's happening underneath. The bigger picture. Today, we're diving deep into how blockchain tech is really fundamentally starting to reshape things.
hmm
We're talking finance, healthcare, supply chains, lots of areas. And we're using the analysis from that Observer Point article, How Blockchain is Changing the World, as our guide.
Exactly. Let's maybe step back from the crypto hype for a sec. What we want to do is unpack the core disruption blockchain brings. It's hitting a surprisingly wide range of sectors.
Right.
So yeah, we'll look at money, tracking goods, handling data, even protecting like creative stuff. The mission today is really to pull out the key insights from Observer Point, understand what this shift really means.
Okay, so basics first.
Wait.
Let's try and add some nuance. Observer Point calls it a decentralized, transparent, and immutable ledger for recording and verifying transactions. We get the gist, but what makes it tick? What are those underlying mechanics that make it such a potential game changer?
Well, it's interesting because it's really how several ideas work together. Think of it less like just one shared spreadsheet and more like a whole network where everyone involved has their own secure, constantly updated copy.
Okay.
That distribution, that's fundamental. It gets rid of any single point of failure, any single entity in control. That's a big shift in managing data.
So it's about trust through distribution, not relying on one central place.
Precisely. And then there's the immutability. Once a block of transactions gets verified and added, changing it is basically, well, computationally, it's next to impossible.
Okay.
Observer Point mentions cryptographic hashing. You can think of that like a unique digital fingerprint for each block. It can't be changed. And here's the clever bit.
Uh-huh.
Each new block also carries the fingerprint, the hash of the one before it. So it creates this linked, unbreakable chain of information.
Ah,
If you try to mess with any part of that chain, it immediately breaks all the links that come after it. It's a really powerful security feature built right in. For anyone who knows data structures, it's a bit like a Merkle tree concept, ensuring integrity across the whole network.
that makes the whole tamper-proof idea much clearer, and that directly leads to decentralization, right? No single boss.
Correct. The security, the integrity, it's baked into the system itself using math, cryptography, and that distribution. You don't need that central middleman anymore to check things and build trust. The network is the trust.
So let's move beyond the Bitcoin headlines. How's blockchain making waves in the wider world of finance, according to Observer Point?
Well, the article stresses that, yeah, Bitcoin and Ethereum got the ball rolling, but the real financial shift is about making existing things work better and enabling completely new things.
Like what?
Take payments, processing payments. Blockchain could seriously cut transaction costs, especially for cross-border stuff,
Hmm.
and make it faster. Think about the delays, the fees when you send money internationally now.
Oh, yeah. Definitely a pain point. The article also talks about smart contracts. What exactly are those, and how are they changing finance?
They're basically self-executing contracts.
Hmm.
The rules of the deal are written right into the code on the blockchain.
Okay.
So when certain conditions are met, conditions that are pre-agreed and coded in the contract just runs automatically. No need for lawyers, escrow, that kind of thing in many cases.
Ah.
Observer Point gives some good examples, like in lending or insurance claims, even managing assets. These automated processes boost efficiency, transparency. Imagine a loan getting paid out automatically the second the blockchain verifies all the criteria are met.
Wow, yeah. That level of automation could slash overheads and waiting times. What about securities trading?
Because you have this shared auditable ledger that everyone on the network can see, blockchain can massively improve how securities are traded, cleared, and settled. Observer Point really highlights the potential for faster settlement times and less counterparty risk.
Because it's all recorded right there.
Exactly. Recorded and verified on that immutable chain. No more waiting days for things to clear sometimes.
And then there's this idea of asset tokenization,
Hmm.
making digital tokens out of things like real estate
Hmm.
or commodities. How's that a game changer?
Well, this could really open things up. It increases liquidity, making assets easier to buy and sell. It makes investing more accessible
How so?
by breaking ownership down into smaller pieces, into tokens, that lets more people invest in things that used to have really high buy-in costs. Like maybe you can't afford a whole apartment building, but you could buy a token representing a small fraction of it.
Right.
They can bring a lot more capital into different markets and just create new ways for people to invest.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit. Something really tangible. Supply chain management. Observer Point talks about the complexities there and how blockchain fits in.
Yeah, current global supply chains. They can be incredibly complex, almost opaque sometimes, lots of different systems, hard to track things efficiently. It leads to delays, mistakes, inefficiencies.
Yeah.
What blockchain offers is potentially a single, unchangeable record of a product's entire journey, from the raw materials all the way to the store shelf or your doorstep.
Like a complete verifiable history.
Exactly. Every step, every time it changes hands, it gets logged and verified on the blockchain. Observer points out the benefits. Better efficiency, much less fraud. Think about fighting counterfeit goods.
Oh, yeah. Huge issue.
Guaranteed authenticity for products, and even faster, more targeted recalls if something goes wrong.
Yeah.
Imagine knowing instantly where a batch of contaminated food came from.
That's powerful. And it's not just for the businesses, right? The article mentions benefits for consumers, too.
Absolutely. Think about scanning a QR code on, say, your coffee beans and seeing exactly where they were grown, when they were roasted, the whole journey. That transparency builds trust. You know what you're actually buying.
Okay, now for a sector where trust and security are just paramount,
Yeah.
healthcare. What's Observer Point saying about blockchain's role there?
The big focus is on managing and sharing patient data securely and efficiently. It's so sensitive. Blockchain could offer a more decentralized way to store medical records, one that's centered around the patient. This could really help different doctors or hospitals share information better, leading to more coordinated care.
And putting patients more in control of their own health info.
Precisely. You could have more say over who sees your records and when. Plus, that immutability we talked about.
Right.
That ensures the data's integrity. It hasn't been messed with.
Makes sense.
Observer Point also mentions how the transparency with the right privacy controls, of course, could help medical research. Secure, auditable ways to share data between approved researchers.
That could genuinely speed up discoveries. The article also mentions tracking pharmaceuticals.
Yes, that's another big one. By logging where medicines move on an immutable ledger, you can help verify they're authentic. Fighting counterfeit drugs is a massive public health challenge, and this could be a powerful tool.
Okay, shifting again. Our digital identities. We all have so many logins, so much data out there. Observer Point suggests blockchain offers a more secure approach.
Yeah, the current landscape is, well, fragmented and often insecure. Lots of usernames, passwords, data held by different companies, vulnerabilities everywhere.
Tell me about it.
Blockchain enables something called self-sovereign identity. The idea is individuals get more control over their personal data. Observer Point explained how you could store verifiable credentials like proof of age or qualifications on a blockchain.
Okay.
Then you could share just the specific piece of information needed for a particular interaction securely without needing a central company to manage it all.
So I control my digital footprint more directly.
That's the core concept. Better privacy, less risk from those huge data breaches we keep hearing about, potentially less identity theft. The article gives examples like making online signups easier, streamlining KYC.
KYC.
Know your customer. It's that identity verification process banks and other services have to do. Blockchain can simplify that and even potentially make things like voting systems more secure.
Interesting. Okay, from personal data to creative work. Observer Point also looked at intellectual property and digital rights management.
Yeah, protecting IP music, art, software in the digital world is tough. Copying is easy. Tracking usage is hard. Blockchain can provide that transparent, immutable record again. Proof of ownership, usage rights, logged permanently. This could really empower creators, help them protect their work, track how it's distributed, maybe enforce licensing automatically.
And this links into NFTs, right? Non-fungible tokens.
Exactly. Observer Point highlights NFTs as a prime example. They represent ownership of a unique digital item on a blockchain. It's totally transforming how we think about owning and trading digital art, collectibles, music, giving creators new ways to monetize their work directly.
It all sounds incredibly promising, almost revolutionary in places. But Observer Point is realistic too, right? It brings up challenges.
Oh, definitely. Widespread adoption isn't a given. Scalability is a big one. Can these blockchain networks actually handle the sheer volume of transactions needed for mainstream use? Think about Visa or MasterCard. Millions of transactions per second. Many blockchains aren't there yet.
Right, building the superhighway, not just a country lane. What else?
Interoperability, making sure different blockchains can talk to each other, exchange data seamlessly. Right now, many are like separate islands. For a truly connected system, they need bridges.
Okay.
And then there's regulation. It's still uncertain in many places. Businesses and individuals need clear legal rules to feel confident investing in and using this tech. Observer Point really stresses how important that clarity is.
And the environmental concerns. We hear about the energy consumption.
That's a very valid point. Some of the older consensus mechanisms, especially proof of work that Bitcoin uses, can use a lot of electricity. The future really depends on developing and adopting greener, more sustainable ways to reach consensus on the network.
So progress is happening, but still some significant hurdles to clear. Observer Point sounds cautiously optimistic, though.
I'd say so, yeah. The article points to all the ongoing research, the R&D tackling these issues. Regulators are getting more involved, which is good. And you see more collaboration happening across industries to figure out how to actually use this stuff.
So if we boil it down, the key message from Observer Point isn't just crypto. It's that blockchain represents this potential fundamental shift towards systems that are more decentralized, more transparent, more secure across loads of different areas.
Precisely. Its real power might be its ability to create trust without needing a traditional middleman. That's what could transform finance, supply chains, healthcare, identity, IP.
And yeah, challenges are still there. Absolutely. But the innovation keeps rolling, suggesting blockchain's role in our digital lives is probably only going to grow.
Absolutely. Which leaves us with a pretty interesting thought, doesn't it? As this tech keeps evolving, keeps integrating, what other possibilities might pop up? What industries maybe haven't we even talked about today that could be completely shaken up by this? Definitely something to keep an eye on.